Okay, and welcome to this week's Southwest Arts Link for Growth TV show. That's for Friday the 15th of January, and as usual, we've got a packed show for you to do with all the local news, bringing you all the local news and sports news from Link for Growth in the area. Chris is once again talking about alcohol and cider this time rather than beer. When he talks to someone about wassailing, which I thought was something that only took place in Somerset, but apparently it's taking place at Croxley Green this weekend. Tania, as usual, has lots of local news and tries to explain why the traffic's been so bad in Watford. Good luck on that one, Tania. The other thing is that Catherine will be talking about all the local charity events and what's happening there. Neal will be joining us a bit later on to talk about the football and Watford FC and a whole load of other local news to do with a local motorsport champion and rugby and a couple of other sports. And this week we have a special guest, and that's Kevin Affleck from WD Sport, who will be on to talk about Watford and to review the season with Neal and to tell us a little bit about his website and how it came about and how it grew. And he will be joining us a bit later. So, Tania, it's been a busy week in Watford and, well, Southwest Herts generally, actually. So, what are you going to tell us about this week?
Oh, I have some fantastic stuff to tell you about this week, Diane. Mostly stuff standing still. To begin with, I understand that down Watford Field sort of way, things have been at much of a standstill for much of the week. I experienced some of it, but not much of it, and I understand that others on the show today might have experienced a bit more of it. And then I'm going to talk about some community governance stuff, some new wards that we might be getting if we put our voice in.
Okay, that's great. And Chris, you're in the kitchen at Croxley talking about cider this week.
Well, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, not exactly cider. I'm talking about a wassail, which until 2 weeks ago I hadn't got a clue what it was, but we're going to find out. We've had a little bit of a change of person to talk to down here, but we're all prepped and ready to go, and we'll find out what a wassail is and a mummer, hopefully.
Well, that sounds really intriguing.
Yeah, it is intriguing. It's all a bit. Well, it's not actually. I found out today because I was making inquiries. It isn't actually a pagan ceremony. It's an old traditional ceremony, but has been paganised because it's all about nature and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So when we come back, I will introduce our guest and we'll find out.
Okay, great. Neal will be talking about all the local Watford news and also about the Newcastle and Southampton games. He'll also be talking about transfer news and speculation and a review of Watford season so far. And those things he'll be talking about with Kevin Affleck, as I said, from WD Sport, all being well. There's also awards for Flores and Igalu to do with their achievements in December. Plus, Neal will be bringing news on water polo, motor racing and rugby. And back to kind of normal now. Catherine, January, not so many events coming up this week for local charities, but lots of other things happening, and also pre-registrations continuing for fundraising events that are going to happen later in the year.
Yes, that's right. There's a bit of prep work going on for some longer term events. There's some, as you say, pre-registration, early bird entries for various things coming up over the next few weeks. But I'll also be talking about Watford's first Pancake Race, which all sounds pretty exciting, as well as the Rickmansworth Mile is coming back for a third year, I believe. And also you've heard of the Colour Run at the Santa Dash. Well, this is a bubble rush, so that'll be something interesting to have a look at later.
Okay, well, that all sounds really good. Chris, we're going to talk about wassailing.
Right, hi. Yeah, I'm back. Right, okay. So as I said earlier, we have a slight change of presenter down here. So you've got me, but we've also got Katie. Now, Katie, I'll introduce Katie in a second. She's just finished playing in a pantomime. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
Over in St Albans. And she's back here now at the Croxley kitchen, so I'm going to talk to her about this. Are you going, Katie? Are you going to this wassail?
No, I don't think I'm there. I don't think I'm able to go.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll be fun though.
Right, here we go. So I'm now going to introduce Katie to you. So here you go. So can you see Katie now? I can't hear you.
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Right, okay, Katie. So we're in Croxley, and this wassail apparently is incredibly famous. Now, it's on Sunday. Can you tell us a little bit about the background to it, or what it is?
Yes, it's basically a ceremony to encourage trees and nature and the growth of fruit and harvest. And it's particularly popular in Croxley because they believe it's really successful in Croxley with the amount of harvest and things that are grown around the area in Hertfordshire.
Okay, so how does it work exactly? So is it the Fox and the Hound it starts?
Yes, they meet the Fox and the Hound, and there's singing and dancing, and there's stories told in an old-fashioned sense, and plays. The Croxley Mummers, the famous Croxley Mummers, reciting plays and acting plays around about the growth and fruits and harvest, and they drink cider and they dance and they have lots of fun, and it's just a really happy festival.
And so what's the kind of background to it? Is it because they're kind of like it's a new year, or they're celebrating the fact that it's soon be like rebirth of,
yes, it's the new start, the new beginning, the new year, the new start, everything positive, and hoping to be fruitful for the future and for the year ahead.
Right, so they've been joking that I'm always talking about drinking and alcohol and stuff like that, and so there is something that goes on here. There's like a cup or something which is full of cider.
Yes, yeah.
And they get, is it toast or stale bread or something?
Yes.
Dip it in. And then what?
And then toast each other.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Is it sort of like, do they hang stuff on the trees or something to help?
Yes, to help believe that there's growth.
Right, okay. So if you want to come down and chew on stale bread that's hanging from a tree, you can do that. And then apparently afterwards they get stuck into the cider, I guess.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Now, who are these mummers then? Because I have to be honest, it sounds all a bit strange. Mummers. What do they do?
I think it's much like in medieval times when they were like the travelling actors that would go around and tell stories and narrate to the communities. And the Croxley Mummers are quite famous, and they've been doing this for years in Croxley Green.
Right.
And they go around, they tell these stories, and there's kings mentioned in there and priests and a variety of characters that they tell the stories around. Yeah, all about fruitfulness.
Right, okay. Well, I did a Google of mummers in general. And there's like prince, no, not prince, like what's the guy? Like George.
Yeah,
dressed
King
up as George.
Yeah.
And they've got like a dragon type character.
Yeah.
You've got some called Slasher,
Yeah.
which sounds all ominous.
Right, yeah.
And then you've got a load of other kind of knights, and somehow some of them get. Oh, I think the knights are supposed to challenge St George.
St George, yeah.
He, of course, wins.
Yeah.
Some doctor arrives and resurrects the slain soldiers.
Yes, yeah.
It sounds all a bit weird and wonderful.
Yeah, it's a bit like George and the Dragon, isn't it? Really? Yeah.
Well, I guess them being brought back to life demonstrates the Doctor's a hero, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
And these people are back to life. So it's a bit Christian, really, in some respects, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it is confused with pagan, well, not confused, but I think a lot of people describe it as a pagan ceremony, but I think it's mixed up in that now, but I think it is just more of a traditionalist ceremony.
I also heard that there isn't actually any scripts written down. What happens is that over the years they've just been passed from generation to generation. But they've lost now kind of the meaning, because like Chinese whispers, it's like the story doesn't get quite repeated the same, and they pick up a bit less. But anyway. We've also got the Phoenix, what do you call them? Morris dancers.
That's it, yes.
Phoenix Morris dancers, they're quite famous around here.
Yeah, they are very famous around here. They do all the local festivals, and we have something in June, and they're always there, and they go around, and in certain months of the year you can see them quite famous Croxley around Croxley.
I've heard you can actually join this group of Morris dance if you fancy that, Diane or Catherine or maybe Tania. Fancy getting your clogs out and having a go. So it goes on until what, about 9 or something?
9, yeah.
About 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go, Diane. Any questions from back at the ranch there?
Yeah, sorry, can you...
The Mamas actually do their play? Is that like a quarterly thing or just a one-off?
Is it a quarterly thing or a one-off, did you say?
Yeah, how often do the Mamas perform plays?
Because if you're thinking of changing
Well,
your car,
do you know how often the Mamas play? I think it's pretty much a one-off. It's around. It's generally, I think, festive, where there's something quite important, like New Year, Christmas. I'm not sure they do Easter, but they might be doing solstices or something. I don't know, but it tends to be around a pretty monumental time of the year.
Okay, brilliant.
Diane, anything from you?
Well, I just wonder what time it started, because it kind of got lost in the background noise.
I think it's 6:30 it starts.
Yeah, 6:30. Meet at the pub.
At Fox and Hounds, yeah.
On Croxley Green.
On Croxley Green, that's it.
Okay, well that sounds really good. I hope it stays dry for them.
I don't think there's a cost. I think there might be a small cost, like 50p or something.
Yeah.
And if you're bringing an instrument to play, I think it's 60p. That's what I think I caught. So you've got to pay to play. It's not one of these free things.
Well, if you heard me saying this, you must have paid me to go away.
Say that again, so I didn't get that.
You heard me play, you have to pay me to go away.
Yeah. Alright, so that's it. We've got a very noisy Croxley, kitchen Croxley down here. It's all very, very busy, but they're doing it's cold outside, but it's very hot in here.
Well, enjoy the lemon drizzle cake, Chris, and we'll see you soon.
Alright, I've got my coffee here. I don't know where my cake is, but I'll find it in a second. Alright, take care back at the ranch. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, and you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, and oh, that's better, isn't it? Without all that background noise. Tania, sorry, I was just going to talk about Link for Growth and what's happened in the past week. Monday there was last week, of course, was the big conference, which was really well attended. About 100 people turned up, and it was really interesting day. Lots of people coming up with really good ideas to build communities and to how to grow Link for Growth as well, beyond the areas it already covers, and that's quite a few. But there are gaps in the areas. But it was a really good and enthusiastic conference. Then on Monday we held a Link for Coffee at Reason Coffee Shop. On Wednesday we had Link for Drinks at the Fox and Hounds in Rickmansworth, Wednesday evening that is, and on Thursday we had an event at the Mercure Hotel on the A41, a Link for Coffee there.
Which was actually really well attended. Sorry, Diane, I was just going to jump in. We actually had probably half a dozen or so new people turn up on Thursday, which was fabulous. There were some really good conversations to be had there. Really, really good.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that with all of them, we had really good attendance.
Yes, well, I think people are feeling a little bit inspired, and they're spreading the word. Certainly after the conference last weekend, there's a New Year buzz going around, I think, at the moment, isn't there?
Yes, it is. It was, I mean, Wednesday drinks was really well attended. The Monday morning coffee, I mean, Tania and I were both there, and there was a whole load of new people as well. So, hopefully, these people will keep coming back as they find out more and more about what Link for Growth is and does, and how it can benefit both them and the community. So it was really exciting to see. The other thing is that we'll of course be running through the Link for Growth events next week at the end of the show. So if you want to come along next week, then please feel free to do so. Tania, there's lots of local news.
Diane.
One of which was kind of, I got caught up in it, and I wasn't anywhere near where this road closure was. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
So we're talking about Wigan Hall now, aren't we?
We are.
Tell us your experience.
Well, it took me 50 minutes to get by the Mercedes garage to the roundabout at the end of Stevenson's Way, outside Tesco's and the Premier Inn. So it was quite a horrible experience, because I was in a hurry to try and go somewhere, and in the end I gave up.
Ah, there you go. Was this Monday evening?
Yeah.
I was going to say it is far-reaching. I mean, I was up on the A41 yesterday, coming back from somewhere, and the signs begin at the A41 up by the McCure and the Hilton, warning people of diversions of Wigan Hall Road. So, I mean, this is far-reaching, townward-wide. You know, outside our house, it normally starts queuing with rush hour traffic. Well, it just seems to be constant out there at the moment. Where does it end?
Well, that Wigan Hall Road junction, that little road down there, is clearly a really important link throughout the town. It's clearly very much used. I mean, it's one that I've walked down very many times, and it's always been very busy, but generally runs very clearly. Of course, now they're doing the gas mains. They're upgrading the gas mains, ready for what they call the hospital development. And the road is partially closed. It's the southbound part of it that's closed, and not the northbound part. The northbound road is still open, just the southbound is closed. But as we all say, there has been some standstill traffic Monday and Tuesday nights. It cleared by the time I wanted to get round the Ring Road and down into Bushy from central Watford at about 7 o'clock on Monday night. It cleared by then, so it must have been a timing issue on Monday.
This was just like Ring Road was just like it was backed up on the Christmas time, because you could see all the tail lights.
Yeah.
Around and not moving. It was ridiculous. It really was.
Yeah, I was there Wednesday round about 3:30, and whichever way you looked, all you could see were tail lights and headlights. It was if you needed to get to the hospital quickly for anything, you need to plan about 6 hours in advance at the moment.
Yeah, it is rather interesting that this long-term development is going to have some short-term implications for us, which clearly the council has looked at, and they've decided apparently it's not a cost thing. They're saying it's the most effective way for them to be doing this. There's been suggestions that it's a cost thing, that the reason they're closing one side of the road rather than doing traffic lights is there's a suggestion that it's a cost thing. And Dorothy Lover is saying that it's not cost at all. This is the most effective and the safest way of doing it. Traders down there are not so happy. The Watford Fields infants and nursery schools are very unhappy. One of the local residents, Lisa Chapman, is saying it's absolute madness. The road through Watford Fields there is being used as a rat run. And they were promised that it wouldn't be. And the traders down there are saying that it's affecting their business by up to 60% since the Health Campus roadwork started in November, according to Andrew Stoker, who set up the motorcycle and scooter dealership Avsco in 2006. That's really, really affecting some people down there. People aren't going to the Wigan Hall Industrial Estate, where businesses are recovering and getting to grips with doing well in the new year. Yeah,
but it's not just Watford, is it? Rickmansworth Station Road's going to be closed again in January and February, so continue work on that bridge.
That's right. That's right, Diane. Yeah. Now they're eventually in Easter going to replace this bridge, so I understand. But in the meantime, Station Road is closed from 8 p.m. Saturday the 16th, so that's that tomorrow? So 8 p.m. tomorrow to 5 a.m. Monday the 8th of February. So that's a good couple of weeks that this road is going to be closed. Plus, Victoria Close, the other side of the bridge, is going to be closed partially from Wednesday the 6th of January, so it's already closed, everyone knows all about it already if they're up there, to Thursday the 14th of April, so even longer. Again, businesses are going to be affected over there just like they were before Christmas, and eventually that bridge is going to be replaced, but this is clearly preparation work to enable that to happen.
And whilst we're talking about transport, let's talk about buses. And there is a petition and campaign to save some bus services between Bushey and Watford.
That's right, there is, Diane. Now, Neal mentioned this last week and gave us some really useful insight. Apparently these buses are always full, standing room only. I say always, that might be my exaggeration, I'm not entirely sure. But apparently really busy bus routes. Sorry, really busy bus routes, and the intention is to stop them. So most buses in Hertfordshire are run commercially by bus companies, and Hertfordshire County Council subsidises around 11% of services to fill some gaps in the commercial network. Now, I would have thought if these buses were always full, then the commercial companies would be wanting to run them anyway, because they'd be good money-making routes. But anyway, the county councillors recently agreed to reduce the subsidy, which will affect only around 2% of passenger journeys. Now, if these are really busy bus routes, that sounds like a very low figure. I don't know how that figure's been calculated. Maybe it's about 2% of route or something. I don't know how that figure's been calculated. But there is a consultation out, so get in touch with your county councillors. It's the county council that are making this choice, this decision. Get in touch with your county councillors and tell them what you think about it. There is the local MP who's been contacted and given his view. A number of Bushey residents have contacted him regarding the 258 and the 142 bus service. This is Oliver Dowden, who is asking for information. He's making representations and influencing the negotiations. There's lots of information on his website about how it's affecting lots of people in the area. So he's putting his oar in and putting forward the community's concerns to the county council, but it is the county council that makes this choice. So your MP, all they can do is put some pressure on the county council, just the same as you and me.
Yeah.
As far as I know, just on those bus routes, the ones up through Bushey and up to Brent Cross, they are incredibly busy. My daughter uses one of them to get to work. The latest that I've heard is that what the county council are trying to do is to save £350,000 by renegotiating the contract with London Underground. They want London Underground to take on the contract and provide the bus service, rather than Herts County Council actually paying for that privilege, that service. So that's the negotiation. I'm not sure that it would ever be stopped, but there's going to be this conflab about who's going to pay for it, which has obviously caused a great deal of concern with a lot of people, because all you really read is, oh my God, it's going to disappear. Hopefully that's not going to be the case, but it is a matter of they're trying to negotiate who's actually going to pay for it in future.
I did get that impression from the county council's website, to be honest with you, Catherine. And I think, like I said, if it's a busy blooming route, why on earth should we be subsidising it?
Exactly. It benefits Watford as much as it does London, so why not? You know, it seems petty to me.
Yeah, very silly. Well, petty of TfL rather than petty of the council.
Well, can I come in on that? I don't really think it is, personally, because actually TfL is Transport for London and they have no past the alpine boundaries, they have no obligation to do anything whatsoever. They don't need to run these buses. So Herts County Council trying to strong-arm TfL could work out very badly for everyone, because TfL are under no obligation whatsoever. In fact, the fact they even do the contract helps Watford. I'm really worried that TfL will just. We don't need to do it.
Why would a business not want to take on, or another business? I mean, TfL or another provider.
TfL doesn't run as a normal business. It is a subsidised service, which our local buses aren't as much. So TfL is a subsidised service and doesn't run as a business, and all its profits go back into improving transport. So it has to be subsidised. But the figures are over 2 million people use those bus routes from Watford last year. Not individual
Journeys.
Yeah, individual journeys. Subsidised of about 10p a journey. So if we can't do that, then we're all in trouble.
But why aren't Aviva, the other station train bus company that we've got in the area, why aren't they taking it up?
Well, they will take it up, and they'll treble the price. There you go.
Okay.
Moving on, because
sorry.
I think it's brilliant. Well done.
I think it is really important, and it's one of those things we could discuss until 10 o'clock tonight. But
maybe we should get somebody involved. Let's get an expert in and see how negotiations are going.
But actually, isn't it interesting how the four of us can we've each got little bits of information, and pooling it together, we get a better picture. Isn't that just what society is about? Isn't that just what Link for Growth is about? Thank you.
And that's a really nice link into the Community Governance Review, which is actually quite big and urgent news for those people living in South Oxley. And the deadline is tomorrow lunchtime, apparently. We've only just found out about it today.
The deadline is tomorrow lunchtime, apparently. So there you go. Three Rivers District Council has received a petition from the Four Wards Community Council campaign, organisers for a community governance review, to review the existing parish boundaries. Now, I had a look at the terms of reference. The terms of reference are the first thing to be agreed, and is that what you're saying has got to be done by tomorrow lunchtime, Diane?
That's what I understand, yes.
Okay, so this is actually just the terms of reference for this review. Now the terms of reference are 1.5 sides of A4, and what is under review is the unparished areas in the wards of Moor Park and Eastbury, Rickmansworth Town, Penn and Millend, Chorleywood South and Maplecross, and Chorleywood North and Sarrett. Now, I haven't looked at the map to see what those unparished the unparished area is, but it's within those wards, those existing wards, are under review. So there's an unparished area within those wards that's under review, and after public notification, the review is to consider the creation of a new parish or community council that will have regard to the views of electors in the area, the views of local interested parties, organisers and local councils and any other representatives. So the review will have regard to the local people and will consider arrangements for the new parish or community council, as this area is not within an existing parish. The name of the new parish, the community council, the electoral arrangements, including the number of councillors to be elected, and any warding arrangements. So that's what they're reviewing. That's basically what the terms of reference say, and it's not an awful lot. That's the thing that's urgent. If anyone's got any comment or any concern or anything about this very short 1.5 page document, it's about the parish governance within the district. Who's undertaking the review, the Regulatory Services Committee, and it will make a recommendation then to the full council. The terms of reference to recommend or otherwise the creation of a new community council or councils covering the wards mentioned or alternative options. So they might recommend one ward, they might recommend a number of wards, they might recommend no wards, but they're going to look at all of those options. And you've got by midday on the 15th of January, it says, so that's today, it's gone. Oh, are you still here or have I lost you?
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Obviously, I got my dates wrong, but it's the first I've seen of it, and it's quite an important thing. Makes you wonder what's happening with the consultation process, because we keep track of these things quite tightly.
Yeah, I think we have mentioned that the petition had been put in before. I remember mentioning that some time ago, but yeah, I remember mentioning it some time ago. I think you'd mentioned it, identified it before, Diane.
Okay.
Yeah, we've not heard about the terms of reference,
Okay.
but yes, those terms of reference are already gone. They're already approved, but they don't look too drastic, to be honest.
Now, very briefly, before Christmas, back in I think it was October, we said that there were plans to build 401 flats in Tolpits Lane. Well, apparently that's not going to happen anymore.
Well, apparently not. The application was about to be refused by the Three Districts Council, apparently, so the application was withdrawn. I don't know if that's a thing that people do, because they don't want to get it refused. I think that's maybe something that happens so that they can then resubmit it. I'm not entirely sure, I'm not up on all of these things, but something in the back of my mind, something in my memory says that this is a bit of a cat and mouse type thing that happens with people. Looking at the pictures, they look rather lovely, but so do the trees behind them.
Okay. Talking of planning applications, there's an application to build 8 flats opposite Vicarage Road, the Red Lion pub.
Yes, me? Yes, okay. Anyone? Well, this is something that's appeared in local press today. There's been various things going on opposite Vicarage Road recently. There's been notices that have been put up for licence applications. That's to do with the pub itself. And it seems that the current owners of the pub are actually, or of the pub and the grounds, are actually thinking of running the pub as a pub, which of course is protected to be a pub with the asset of community value that was created for it, thanks to Watford councillors. So interesting that's happening. But yeah, this application for 8 flats, I think it is, on the ground next to the pub, looks like it will probably be approved, I think. Neil, do you have any more details on that?
No, I don't have any special knowledge apart from, yeah, it looks like they've decided to bite the bullet and run it as a pub themselves, which will give them some favour with the planning process. But if it stays as a pub, that's what our goal was. That's what the signature
exactly, for. Yeah. I mean, the Twitter feed, which is something that I keep in touch with, seems to be quite positive in terms of great. It's actually going to be something that people can use, as long as it's obviously run responsibly. With a little bit of a history of, the last landlord wasn't the most popular, and it attracted a little bit of bad press. We're hoping that this time round it's going to be run responsibly for the community, and perhaps the people living locally can actually have a bit of a say into how they'd like to see it run as well. It needs to work for the people. It needs to be a family-run establishment, something that people can take their kids to on a match day, as well as obviously use during the other days of the week as well.
Yeah, let's hope new landlady or landlords do just work with the community on that.
Absolutely.
Hey. Tania, are you there? You seem to be dropping in and out. Oh, Tania.
I'm back again.
Good. Okay,
yeah.
Very briefly, the council are running an installation scheme to keep Watford snug.
They are, and isn't that brilliant? So the council is going around. They've got a grant from the government, and they're going around and insulating people's homes. 165 homes so far. How fantastic! saving residents a guesstimate of £55,900 on fuel each year, and reducing CO2 emissions by 236.5 tonnes every year. And how fantastic! They've interviewed a resident from Chestnut Walk who said, Elizabeta Gradkowska. Gorgeous name. It's been wonderful, and I'm looking forward to the savings on my heating bills. As soon as the insulation went on, I noticed the difference. How brilliant. It's lovely and cosy, and once it's warmed up, it stays warm for a long time. I have to say, I'm going to think about if I can get that in my boat at the moment. That would be good.
Okay. And there's also talk about consultation on what it's like to live in a conservation area in Watford.
There is. Now, you maybe know better than me, Diane. Where is the conservation area in Watford? Is that down the Regis estate, or is it all Watford?
Well, this is the Regis estate is part of the conservation area, but actually, I think stretches along many of the old Victorian houses that surround the town centre as well.
Oh, fantastic! I wonder if it includes all of the Metroland up by up here, the Cassidy area. I wonder if it includes any of that. Anyway,
Tania, we've lost your signal. Now, obviously, we're having some trouble with Tania's signal today. This sometimes happens. And the last piece of news she was going to talk about was the candidates have been announced for the Bushy North by-election, which is a county council election. And you can see all the details and get all the details if you live in the Bushy North ward for the county council election, by-election in the next few days. So thank you for that, Tania. Neal.
Hello.
Hi, today we're going to talk about the sport, and we've got Kevin Affleck with us to talk as well. Hi, Kevin.
Good evening.
Hi. Can you switch your camera on as well, please, Kevin?
I'm not sure I'm not sure people want to see that.
Oh, come on. Don't be shy.
Just trying to switch it on now.
Okay.
Have a green light now, see?
Yeah, that's it. That's great, Kevin. Thank you. Great. Now, of course, Kevin, I think people may remember you very briefly from when you wrote for the Watford Observer several years ago, and then you went off to the Middle East and did some reporting from Dubai and Abu Dhabi, I believe.
That's correct, yeah. I left the Watford Observer in, when was it now? 2008. Took a break, had a serious back operation to fix, and then I thought, what better way to recuperate and rehab than enjoy some sun in the Middle East. So I spent 3 or 4 fantastic years there, saw a lot, learnt a lot, and then discovered that there's only so much tax-free money and permanent sunshine you can have.
Okay, well, and then you came back, and now you're the editor and owner of WD Sports, which is a sports web and blog site focused especially on Watford.
Indeed, yeah. I worked on various startup companies after I came back, and then thought I learned so much from those, and probably how not to do some things and how to do some things, and thought I could use that to launch my own thing. And I think, as some of your colleagues and guests on this program will know, you stick to what you know when you go into business and into areas you know. So I know publishing, I know sport, and I know the town. So it just fitted nicely, and we launched our website in July, and we launched a 36-page promotion print supplement in May when Watford won promotion. So yeah, it's been full on since, but wouldn't change it, and thoroughly enjoying it.
Well, that's good. And how many hits are you getting roughly each week or each month?
Yeah, I think my partner was saying we get something about 18,000 unique page impressions a day.
Wow, that's going some for a local sports site.
For a local sports website, a startup, it's just been beyond my wildest expectations. the plan was always to build the audience, and then once you've got that audience, then you decide how to monetize it and what you can do with it. But the hard part is building the audience, and thanks to my business partner and some hard work of others, we've achieved that. So yes, it's been great, but a lot of hard work still to be done.
Okay, well that's great. The reason why we've got you on is to talk about Watford and everything. And Neal is our usual sports correspondent. Neal is a season ticket holder at Watford, and I think it's fair to say Uber fan. So I think, Neal, if you could just tell us about the Watford-Newcastle game, that'd be useful, please.
Yeah, well, I wasn't actually at the game, unfortunately. I happened to work, but from second-hand accounts, it was pretty much of a dull affair. 0-0. Deeney scores just after half-time, I believe. Newcastle missing their chances, but from what everyone says, it was just a dull affair. And even Troy Deeney comes out after the game and apologises to everyone, but says it's job done, and we're through to the next round. So I can't really say much more than that, but yeah, job done, we're through to the next round.
Okay, well maybe Kevin can. I trust you were there at the game watching?
Yeah, Neil, I think you were one of the lucky ones, or you probably missed it was a good one to miss, really. I think a few fans were stuck outside the ground and missed the first 15-20 minutes. I think a few of them wished they'd missed the whole 90. I think it was that bad, but as you say, they're through to the next round. They're in the hat for the draw, and they've now got Nottingham Forest away, so I guess fans already dreaming of Wembley already, I think.
Yeah, that's a really good draw for us, and it's according to the website or Watford Observer, I can't remember what it was. The ticket prices are really cheap as well, so it's a really good opportunity for people to get to an away game.
Absolutely, and home teams have to allocate 15% of their capacity crowd, of their stadium capacity, to away fans. So I think Watford should take about 4,500 fans. So I know a few of my friends that are going to be going up there, especially as it's £10. So I think it should be a really good day, and hopefully there's some magic of the FA Cup.
Not too much magic, because I'm hoping for a Watford win.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we wouldn't want a Nottingham Forest win, but I think what's interesting is Watford played Chelsea 4 days later at Vicarage Road. So I think if they hadn't had Chelsea, didn't have Chelsea 4 days later, I think the manager may pick his full strength side, but with such a big game against what people forget are the champions, I think he might still rest one or two. So I wouldn't rule out an upset, but probably a replay or a narrow Watford win would be my call.
Okay, that's really interesting. I gather another game that Neal was lucky to miss was the game at Southampton.
Wow, I'm not quite sure where to start on that one. Yeah, it was just miserable all round. It was a terrible drive down there. It was a terrible game, terrible drive back. I think we got in about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. But this team have built up so much credit and got so much credit in the bank. You have to excuse them a bad day at the office, but whatever possibly could go wrong did go wrong that night. And I think there must be something in the South Coast air, because they played similarly poorly at Bournemouth earlier in the season. So I don't think they've got any more trips to the South Coast. So that's one thing to count your lucky stars.
Yeah, but Neal, I mean, you're a fan. Kevin's a professional observer. He's probably and also a fan, I believe. But how much longer do you think this run can go before, say, Flores starts to lose some of the goodwill that he's generated?
Well, traditionally Watford fans are incredibly pessimistic, but personally I'm not worried at all. He's built up plenty of credit. The slight worry is it could be the start of people have figured out playing three against the back against us makes it more difficult, but we handled that very well against Man City and Tottenham because we had the high energy game going. But yeah, by all accounts, my wife has another season to go and she watched the game and said we just didn't get going against Southampton, so it was incredibly poor. But yeah, it's just going to show whether he's a good manager or not. He's got to come up with another way of playing against other teams, and I'm sure he will. And I'm sure we'll end up mid-table or just above.
Okay. I mean, both of you, how do you think the season's gone so far? I mean, the impression I get as an outsider looking in is it's gone fantastically well, and everyone's playing way above expectations, and that's kind of been cemented with the awards that Igalo and Flores won for the performance of the team in December.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most Watford fans, and Neal will back me up on this, they would have probably taken finishing 17th on goal difference at the start of the season. So to be on the form they have been, to be, I think it's 10th at this stage of the season. They've got the third top goal scorer in the league in Igalo. They've got a manager who people will be looking at him very carefully, because he's a very, very shrewd operator, and I've been very fortunate enough to come across some top-class managers, but none more impressive than him, both as a coach and a man. I think you get some managers who are brilliant coaches, but they're not everyone's cup of tea, but you can't find anyone who's got a bad word to say about Flores, and I think the Daily Telegraph had him down as the best-dressed man in football at the minute, so that's another award he's got on his mantelpiece.
Yes, I saw the article myself, and I think he's getting a lot of positive coverage. As you say, everyone who sees him, speaks to him, works with him, seems to say what a great chap he is, and that he knows his football as well. I mean, I'm not in a position to judge, but you of course are. Yeah,
what's amazing with him is, I was sitting in the press room on, when was it, Wednesday, and he walks in, and you just think, this is a guy who played for Real Madrid, he played for Valencia, he managed Valencia, he managed Atletico Madrid, he managed Benfica, he's coached some of the top players in world football. Just a couple of names: Sergio Aguero, David Silva, David De Gea, and they all speak so highly of him, yet he's coming to Watford without a trace of arrogance. You have to really, really drag it out of him to get him to talk about the success he's enjoyed, the players he's coached. He's so humble, and he's a big family man. He mentions his 4 children a lot, 2 of which are twins. And he, even on Wednesday, he refused to criticise the players. He just said, I love them more than ever now, and they need me now more than ever. Whereas you would have seen a lot of managers or a lot of coaches kind of, almost in football parlance, throwing his team under the bus. But he refuses to do that. He does everything with class and good grace, and he's a pleasure to deal with.
Well, that's really good. I mean, do you think he's kind of like the second best manager we've had to Graham Taylor, or is he sort of like pushing Taylor for the #1 position?
Yeah, I think he's got some way to go to before he gets a statue outside Vicarage Road or a stand named after him. But he's doing everything right. I don't think he's really put a foot wrong. And one thing Graham Taylor didn't manage to do in the Premier League since it became the Premier League was keep Watford in there at the first attempt. People remember in 99, 2000, Watford went straight back down under Graham Taylor. So I think even Graham Taylor would recognise what a fantastic achievement this would be if Flores kept Watford in the Premier League. And barring a real dramatic, disastrous run of results, you can't see them being relegated. But I'm furiously touching wood here while saying that.
Well, I do remember reading an article, I think it was on your website, that Craig was saying about not to be complacent, because despite the great start, and he was referring back to when he played for Blackpool, I think it was, and they had a great start and then went on a terrible run and it ended up getting relegated. Absolutely,
Diane, that's terrific knowledge and research there. I think they had 25, 27 points by Christmas, and I think they were already planning the survival party at Blackpool, but they fell off a cliff really and were relegated on the final day at Old Trafford against Manchester United. And I think Cathcart in particular has learnt a lot from that experience, and he'll be saying to the boys, along with Troy Deeney, look, let's not count our chickens yet. We've got a long way to go. They probably need 3 or 4 wins, but you wouldn't back against them doing so. And I think the executives at the club really believe they can stay up because they're already planning for next season and bringing in transfers targets with a view to being here for the long term and another season in the Premier League.
Yeah, and the other thing that you hear about Watford is they're not afraid, as it were, to buy someone and put them in reserve for a year or 2. There's the guy they got from Bruges and the guy who came from, was it?
Berghaus.
Berghaus is the other one. Yeah, they seem to be quite prepared to let young or younger talent sit in reserve for a year or 2 to kind of get used to the demands of the English football season?
Yeah, absolutely. I think those two probably cost somewhere in the region of 8, 9, 9.5 million between them. And Neal will back me up on this. For Watford to have players of that value who you can kind of sit on the bench, sit in the reserves, and even sit in the stand sometime, I think speaks volumes for how far the club has come. But it's very much the owner's way. They buy young players, they nurture them, and then hopefully they sell them on for big profits. But the first team have played so well that these two, Berghaus and Alari in particular, you mentioned, have been afforded the time to settle into England, bring their family over, bring their girlfriends over, get used to the weather which we're experiencing now, get used to the physical demands of the English game. So, yeah, I know those two are frustrated. They want to be playing, but you'd be surprised, you'd be disappointed if a player was happy not to be playing. So I really like their character and attitude, and I think Watford will see the best of those two in the next 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah. Talking of ins and outs and transfers and everything, of course, this is the January window. This is a really kind of strange month. Neal and I have been talking about speculation as to who's coming or who might be coming, who's not coming, that sort of thing, for what seems like weeks and weeks now. Of course, now it's here. Everyone's impatient for new signings, and so far none have been made, as I understand.
That's correct, yeah. I was hoping for an admin day today, but Friday's traditionally a crazy day for transfers because talks begin at the start of the week, and then as talks progress and you start doing medicals and negotiations, things normally come to fruition at the end of the week. We've seen one which may drop today, a Moroccan international called Nourdine Amrabat. That looks to be the first one they're going to get over the line. He's a 28-year-old winger who Sanchez Flores will know. But it's a real challenging time, the window for us. It's terrific in terms of generating traffic and numbers and engagement. But fans want to know instantly who the team are signing, and it's sometimes difficult to go to your contacts with every single name you read because obviously they'll get annoyed. So in your head you have to try and work out the viability of a move before you go to your contact. You think, does this make sense? Does it stack up? Yes, no, right, and then you ask the question. But yeah, it's a crazy month, this period. I don't think Watford want to do too much business because they don't really like the January window, because if you make too many signings in January, it tends to smack of panic, and Watford have no need to panic. So they'll do a deal if it's right. If it's not right, they'll spend between now and June getting their ducks in a row and signing some real top players in the summer. That's the plan from people I've spoken to today. Okay. Neal, what do you think about that, Neal?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and plus we got the thing, because it's a project, they're not looking to ship people in to come straight into the first team, so they've got to find the players with the right attitude as well, who are willing to be part of the project over the next 18 months. And that seems to me that's scared off a few players. And not only scared off, we've turned players away because they demand in first team places. So how do you spell it? Amrabat is an interesting one, because being a winger, Sanchez only said he was looking at one winger. So with so much speculation around Townsend, will he still chase him, do you think, as well, and get two wingers?
Yeah, I did a story today saying if the Amrabat one is close, which we think it is, I think that spells the end of the deal for Townsend, because I think you're looking at 12 to 14 million pounds for Townsend. If you add that to the 6 they'll pay for Amrabat, I can't see Watford spending 20 million pounds on wingers. And again, as you correctly say, Neal, they want people with the right attitude, and I think Townsend's main goal is to make the Euro 2016 squad. I don't think his main goal is to forge a career at Watford and be a hero there. He's looking at a short-term deal, get myself in the Euro 2016 squad, and then assess it there. Watford aren't interested in that. They want to know, are you here this year, are you here next year, and the year after?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I have actually heard from other Spurs fans that his attitude isn't that great, and they were wondering why we were looking at him, tell the truth.
Yeah, I've heard the same. Watford legend Nigel Gibbs is training at Tottenham. He trains their under-21s, and he said he's actually not found his attitude a problem actually, but the big reason he's fell out of favour at Spurs is because he had an argument with the Tottenham fitness coach. So the manager at Tottenham had sent him to train with the under-21. So Sanchez Flores, we'll hear about that, and I'm not sure he'll be too keen on signing players who have rows with fitness coaches. So they might have dodged a bullet on that one, and Amrabat probably makes more financial sense as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and he seems like a player. I know he's 28, but it's not as much of a financial risk. And although our owners do have money in the Premiership's rich, they're not got bottomless pockets, as it were.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just very briefly, I mean, you hear all these rumours, like Troy Deeney to Arsenal, Igalo to somewhere here or somewhere there, and all the rest of it. How do these rumours come about? Because I think as a fan, I mean, I'm not a big fan, but I kind of follow it slightly. You see all these rumours and you think, well, where does that come from? How's that happened? Who's spoken to who? I mean, obviously, I'm not asking you to give any sources away or anything like that, but just generally, how do all these rumours kind of bubble up to the surface? I mean, is it just people down the pub, or is it agents? Or is it...
Yeah, agents play a massive part in the January window. Lots of the stories, lots of the senior writers on some of the top newspapers in the country will have very, very good relationships with players, and they might have say, for example, with Deeney and Arsenal. Let's say Giroud's agent might be saying, well, you need to give my player a bit more money because look how valuable he is. You just never know where the story comes from and kind of the motives behind it, but invariably it's agents, and often we make phone calls and say, oh, Watford are being linked with this player in Italy, and invariably the answer comes back that it's the agent looking to link Watford with the player, which therefore would drive up the price, which therefore means the agent gets bigger commission and a bigger cut. So it's a bit of a murky world, that, and sometimes it's a bit dog eat dog, but I think people accept that the way it is. But sadly, if you don't know the right agents, you don't get the players. But in Watford, at Watford, Gino Pozzo is on first name terms with so many of the agents. So Watford have got a good in there, which is why their recruitment is so good.
And we also seem to be in a position where some of our players have got very good agents, as far as the fact that they're not always trying to tout them around to other clubs. They're actually working for the players' interest. Because you read it in the paper all the time, players just 6 months impact. Adebayor would be a typical example, 6 month impact player, and all of a sudden he's looking for another club. That's got to be a signing on fee and an agent fee in my head. Yeah,
and absolutely, and where Watford kind of reduced the level of agent talk and people trying to link their players with moves elsewhere is they put them on massive contracts. When I say massive, I mean in terms of length. So players aren't running their contracts down. You've not got somebody who's got 6 months, 12 months, 18 months left on a contract. You know, if you're going to buy Igalo, who's got a 5-year contract, you know you're going to have to pay big money. So by having these players on long-term contracts, Watford hold all the aces in negotiations. Watford effectively own the player, and unless they get the right fee for a player, that player isn't going anywhere.
Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you for that, Kevin. Very briefly, Joel Ekstrand, I understand, is coming back from injury, and he's been out for near enough 8 years. So that must be like a new player for Watford again this season.
Absolutely. I think everybody was a bit down in the dumps after the game at Southampton on Wednesday, but we went along bleary-eyed to St Albans on Thursday to see his comeback, and it was a real feel-good, heartwarming story, and it was nice to be able to report some positive news. He was so pleased to be back. He's been through some dark times, Joel has. He went through a period where he wondered if he'd ever play again. It was that serious, and he's worked very hard. And what was terrific, and it says a lot about the club, that Troy Deeney came down to St Albans, and let me tell you, it was absolutely freezing. Yet Troy Deeney came down when he could have had far better things to do, and he had a tough game on Southampton, and he came down and supported him, as did a couple of the other players. And I think that speaks volumes for the spirit and the culture that they've created at the club, that they're willing this guy to do well, and I think everybody at the club was pleased to see Joel back.
Yeah. Very briefly, there's a game on Monday night. Both of you, what's the prediction, please?
Neil, you can go first.
Neal's very good at this, by the way, Kevin.
Well, I've been doing all right until the Southampton game. I didn't think we'd lose that. I thought we'd get a draw out of it. TV game away from home, Swansea at home. Even though they're bottom of the league, they're a good side there at their club. So I'm looking at a draw, hopefully, from that one.
Yeah, I'm with you, Neil. I think a lot of my friends always phone me on the way to games saying, "What do you think? What do you think?" And I always say, just don't get beat. Just don't, because then it gives the other team momentum. It gives the other team 3 points. But I think Deeney and Sanchez Flores will have the team really fired up after Southampton, particularly on TV. They won't want to put in a poor performance in front of the Sky cameras, and they'll feel their own fans a performance. So I think you'll see them come out firing it, and I expect them to get at least a point.
Okay. And do you both think they'll be safe from relegation, or is it going to be a struggle?
It's not going to be an issue at all. Definitely, I said beginning of the season, I said 8th. I'm sticking with that. It's still very tight up there. Everyone's beating each other. We've got a good squad. I'm pretty sure Sanchez Flores has got the skills to play differently against different teams. One slight worry I personally have is we haven't seen him do substitutions to turn games round yet. But whether that's he doesn't believe in the people he's got on the bench, maybe new signings can turn that round. But even so, I still see us being 9th or 10th.
I hope you put some money on that, then finishing 8th, Neil.
I didn't. I know. I was gutted.
And I was going to say, with the way you've looked at the substitutions, there's probably a job for you with us, because I think that's the big question mark over Flores at the minute is his use of the bench. I don't think he's put a foot wrong, but I was stunned he didn't bring Barami or Guedior on Wednesday night. It was tailor-made for them. Perhaps he doesn't trust his bench. Perhaps he doesn't feel he's got the options. But hopefully, if he gets a few more signings in January, he might start to use his bench a bit more. But that's a very, very good observation from you there, Neil.
Yeah, it's something I thought right from day one. I understand he doesn't make substitutions early because some managers don't like to do that, and he likes to bring out the same team in the second half to give them a chance to try to make an impact. But sometimes just 10 minutes after half time, it's just obvious it's not working. And especially when you're losing, he brings on Anya, who we all know can be an impact player down the wings, but he doesn't seem to bring him on as an attacking winger. He seems to be under some sort of instructions to play a little bit more defensive. I don't know, and I guess after the last few years of having such exciting football where if we're down we're used to absolutely throwing everything in the kitchen sink at teams. Yeah, for me, I love what he's doing. It's amazing, and he could go down as the best manager of all time in 10 years' time. It could look back. But yeah, I'd just like to see him turn it around. But if you give him his credit, if you look at Manchester United, in the first half against Manchester United, we were very poor. The same team came out after half-time, and they looked like a completely different team. So let's just hope Southampton was a one-off.
Yeah, I think he's actually quite risk-averse. I don't think he takes too many chances. And speaking to him privately, I think his ideal game is get 1-0 up, say, just before half-time, just after half-time, and then just completely shut the game down, bring on Anya, bring on Paredes, bring on Guediora, and just, as he calls it, execute what he says is a low block, and just not park the bus, not as defensive as that, but kind of just shut the game out, and then hopefully try and get a second on the break. But he loves nothing more than using substitutes to close the game out. But you're right, he needs to be able to show he can use substitutions to turn a game on its head and win it.
Yeah, okay. So you're predicting safe, no struggle against relegation then, Kevin?
Absolutely. I think you just have to, are there 3 worse teams than Watford in the division? Absolutely. So no question at all.
Okay. I'd like a margin of safety. I'd like at least 4 or 5.
Well, there are plenty. Well, the great thing about the Premier League this year is it's the first year 3 promoted teams have actually got a chance of staying up and seeing 3 established teams go down, and I would personally love that to happen.
Right, okay. Well, we're going to thank Kevin for joining us, and good luck with the website, WD Plus, WD Sports, sorry. That's real, and thank you very much for coming on and reviewing the season with Neil.
Thank you.
We'd like, perhaps Kevin, you to come back on at the end of the season or something like that and review the season with Neil, and that way we get journalist and a fan's viewpoint, which would be fabulous. In the meantime, Neal, Kings Langley FC, they've had mixed results over the weekend.
Yeah, mixed results. They're pushing for that playoff place, but every time they seem to be creeping up there, they shoot themselves in the foot. So they had a 1-0 win away from home against Godalming Town on January the 9th, and then their midweek game against Egham Town, they lost 1-0. To be fair, if they keep that to the end of sort of like the last few games and have a push, it could be good enough. So they're not falling away, which is the really good positive thing. But I know their ambition is playoff places, so yeah, at some stage they're going to need to get a little run going. But they're leaving themselves there or thereabouts for the end of the season.
Okay. They're playing at home tomorrow against Bedford.
Yeah, 3 p.m. kickoff at home, which is Watford Road, Kings Langley.
Okay, and Bedford are just below Kings Langley, aren't they?
I didn't look up their position in the league table, sorry.
Okay, well I did some research for you, and they have 9 points less than the 5 places lower.
Okay, good, thanks. Yeah, well, home they'll be expecting a win, but it's a tight league, so let's hope they.
Okay, great. Other sports, there's a football golf combination which I've never seen or heard of before, but apparently involves putting a football in the golf hole.
Yeah, it's a new craze, and I hadn't actually realised it had got to a World Cup stage, and they're playing it internationally now. I thought it was just a bit of fun that something blokes did on stag weekends and the like. But yeah, so the local chap who runs the Garston Foot Golf, which I must admit I haven't had an opportunity to get up to do. He got an albatross on one of the holes that was over water, and he ended up coming 5th in the tournament, which is an amazing achievement. I doubt if there's big money in the sport at this moment in time, but they get to meet a lot of footballers because the footballers like to go down and try their hand at the golf to see how they get on. So yeah, well, you never know with these sports where they're going to take off. It will be the next big thing.
Okay, motor racing, talking of next big things, there's a young Watford driver with a very promising future. Yeah,
definitely. So this is in the Ford Fiesta Championship. A young chap from Westfield School, Jamie Ross, probably likes being called James Ross. He won the class, but not only the class, the overall in the championship, and that's the youngest ever person to do that, 16-year-old. So he looks like a kid with a bright future. Not sure which way he wants to go. Those sort of cars, he's probably into the touring cars rather than F1, but he's moving up to the Clio class next year, so onwards and upwards hopefully for him. He's obviously a talented young lad.
Good. And Watford FC are not the only local team doing well, are they? The water polo team, which we've talked about in the past, seems to be doing quite well. Yeah,
Watford water polo, they had a great start to the season. They've dropped back a little bit, but four games left, and it's very simple. They've got to win all 4 games to get promoted, and their coach said he's confident they can do it. And they were on a long winning streak earlier in the season, so they proved they can win many games on the trot. So yeah, I hate this sport. I've tried playing it. It's so scary. I don't know how they do it, but good luck to them.
Okay, and another sport that's quite scary is rugby, and Florians beat Old Haberdashers, which of course is another school just the other side of Watford, isn't it, down near Elstree?
Yeah, local derby against Haberdashers, and really important win for Florians because Haberdashers were ahead of them, and the win takes them to within 2 points. It was a tight game, but Haberdashers were probably expected to win. So it opens up the league completely, and they're only 2 points behind Haberdashers now, who are in 2nd place.
Okay, that's great. And thank you, Neal, and also thank you to Kevin, who, our special guest this week. Lots of interesting football talk there, which perhaps, especially the bit about how Flora sees the game and everything, was a really useful insight there from Kevin. Catherine, we haven't forgotten about you. Hello.
Hi. Yes, fascinating stuff. Lovely to hear Kevin talking as well. It's great to have a town football team that we can be proud of and talk about these days, isn't it?
It is. I see someone's in training behind you for it. Not happening this weekend?
One man and his dog, that's what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
There's lots happening locally with the local charities and other local events that are happening. Shall we start with Sports Relief, which is going to start again in Rickmansworth?
Absolutely, as if there isn't enough sport going on in Watford at the moment. Sports Relief is coming round again. I think Rickmansworth have held their Sports Relief Mile for the last couple of years now. It's back again this year. This is on Sunday the 20th of March, and it's for everyone to get involved in. So you can walk it, you can run it, and you can raise lots of money for Sport Relief. And Sport Relief raises money for projects to help families, children, people both at home and abroad. A lot of the money is in fact spent in the UK to help with worthy causes in the UK these days as well. So setting off from the cafe in the park, the Rickmansworth Mile is actually run or walked all around Rickmansworth Aquadrome. So it's a fabulous setting, and hopefully we get a bit of decent weather in March to really enjoy the day. I say all the details are online for booking. I was going to move on very quickly to not just in Rickmansworth, but actually there's a Watford Mile as well. There's lots of different sports relief activities happening around that time. Watford Central Leisure Centre is also running a swimathon, as well as a mile as well, and likewise the other leisure centre in Watford at Woodside is doing a swimathon as well, and also they're doing a run as well. Obviously you can go down to the they call it the London Flagship Mile, which is the central location in Queen Elizabeth Park, the Olympic Park, where there's lots of activities going on. But there's also other things you can do away from the leisure centres. If you go onto the Sports Relief website, which is www.sportsrelief.com, you'll find that there's actually lots of ways that you can do something over that weekend in your local community to set up something to raise money for such a worthy cause.
Great. What's happening on the Coliseum and Horns and the Palace and stuff like that? There's usually something good on this time of year.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to mention specifically at the Palace Theatre, they've got a British Asian Festival coming up. Now, this is running over 3 days from, I will tell you when from, next Thursday through till Saturday. That's the 21st, 22nd and 23rd of January. And this is celebrating a vibrant festival of all things to do with music, comedy, theatre, film and art. It's put on by RIFCO and Watford Palace Theatre, and it's celebrating everything to do with British Asian arts and culture. So there's lots and lots of different projects. Again, if you go onto the Palace Theatre website, you'll see all the different things that they're advertising on there. Just click to book. I think some things are free. There's scratch performances, RIFCO Associates. Not entirely sure what that is, but I'm guessing it's a dramatic event of some sort. That's free. But other tickets, they're very reasonably priced, £10, £15. So it's a great thing to get involved in. That's at the Palace Theatre next weekend from Thursday. At the Horns, if music is your thing, then tonight they've got their regular 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s DJ. Tomorrow night they've got a fabulous sounding band called the Evil Puppies. But they're a 4-piece rocks covers band. Don't let the name put you off. They sound absolutely brilliant. Celtic Indian classic rockers. They formed in 2005. They're a London-based covers band with a strong Celtic connection. It sounds like an absolute riot. That's tomorrow evening at the Horns. Also at the Horns on Sunday, they've got their regular jazz band. The Northside Jazz Band have been playing at the Horns for over 11 years on Sunday lunchtime, so that sounds like a popular thing to get around to.
Okay, that sounds good. And we've talked about colour runs and colour powder runs and everything, and this is a run, if you like, bubbles.
Bubbles, yes, a bubble rush. This is something quite different. Yes, absolutely. We've talked about colour runs where along the route at various stations you get dazzled by an array of colours that cover you as you run around, or fun runs, everybody to get involved. Well, this is kind of like at the colour dash, only it's bubbles instead. So at various points around the route, there are bubbles that that engulf you, which is a really fun thing, especially to get all the family involved, get the kids involved. This is happening on Sunday the 17th of April. It's going to be at Gaybridge Park in Hemel Hempstead. It's raising money for the Hospice of St Francis. As I say, it's fun for all the family. You can walk it, run it, or dance it if you really want to. If you're feeling the urge to dance your way around a route. There's bubble cannons at various points of the route. There's no age restriction. The route is child friendly. There's also lots of live entertainment, children's rides, refreshments, and fun for all the family. You can get in early bird prices for the first 500 people who take up the offer. Prices are a little bit cheaper. Otherwise, registration fees are £7.50 for all under 16s, £25 for all over 16s, and under 3s go free. So take everybody along. There's no minimum sponsorship requirement that they're asking for. Just raise as much as you possibly can. That's for the Hospice of St Francis. Sunday the 17th of April.
Michael Sobel, I've said they've got a January sale on, I understand.
They've got, Michael Sobel have a winter promotion. Yes, they've just opened up a shop in Ruislip, which has just had a makeover. They're saying pop along, have a look at the shop, pick up some winter bargains to keep you warm through the cold snap. They've got lots of quality winter clothes on sale, including coats, footwear, accessories at very favourable prices. So upgrade your winter wardrobe today and look great for less this season. Hurry while stocks last. Sounds like it's going to be a really popular location for a shop. The shop's open Monday to Saturday, 9 till 5, closed on Sundays. Well, that sounds like a great idea. From the 12th of January, so it's open already. Yeah, absolutely. Go along there and grab yourself a bargain.
Yes, and Yellow Comedy are very big, supporting a couple of local charities. We'll start with the first one, which is Michael Green Foundation, which I know you're involved with.
Yeah, this should be a really fun event. Anybody who was at the Yellow Comedy event at Reason last Friday will know just how good the quality of comedy is. It was just such a fun evening last Friday. Again, a whole new batch of comedians, one or two familiar faces perhaps, but a comedy to suit everybody. Lots of different types of comedy. Some people love one thing, some people love another. There's a whole array, and these up-and-coming comedians really do give it their all. It's a fabulous night. So Andrew Carberry, who runs Yellow Comedy, has very generously decided to put on a charity event, raising money for Michael Green Foundation, which, as most of you know, is the charity I'm involved in. This is going to be on Friday, the 29th of January. They're holding it at Watford Museum, a new venue for the comedy club. There's a function room there that we're going to be using. Doors open at 7:30. Comedy starts at 8. Headliner is actually the Yellow Comedy Queen of Hearts 2015, Sandra Hale. Again, anybody who's seen her before will know just how good she is. If you haven't seen her, come along and find out. MC will be Michael Hill. Also appearing will be the Bosun's Delight, which is Andrew's sketch troupe, who are involved, in fact, in a competition in Leicester Square Theatre, which I'll mention more about next week, because I know we're running a bit short on time at the moment. But yeah, this is Friday the 29th of January. All donations go to the Michael Green Foundation. Come along and support it.
Yeah. And when you've done that, when you can go along and support their event at Attica on the 8th of March.
Absolutely. Do you know, actually, I couldn't find a great deal of information about this, Diane. I'm not sure it's listed on their website yet. But yeah, it's on the 8th of March. I know it's an all-woman lineup, and it's supporting Watford Women's Centre. Do you know any more than that?
Yeah, I do, actually. The lineup is absolutely fabulous. Yukiri Kotani, who is the Japanese comedian who recently won a big national BBC award, is the headliner. Sandra Hale is also appearing, and also Fiona Ridgewell, who we saw on Friday night, who is outstanding. I thought she was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And the utterly delightful and bonkers Natasha Smith is also appearing. So I'm not quite sure what she's going to be saying or showing or
surprise.
It's always really good. And then Sandra Hale, Kate Jones, and Claire Nelson are the other acts. So it should be really good. So Andrew's going to be introducing all these female comedians. It's all in support of the Watford Women's Centre, and it's on March the 8th because that's International Women's Day.
Fantastic. Sounds great. I'll be there.
They are going to be available on Eventbrite, and they will be posted from next week onwards.
Perfect. Perfect. Shall I mention my other couple of items really, really quickly? Chorleywood and District RSPB, that's Royal Society for Protection of Birds, local group January meeting is on the 21st of January. If birds are your thing, or nature generally, there will be a talk entitled Wildflowers in the Chilterns by Dr. Brenda Harold. She's a local expert, formerly from Brunel University. Her photos will show the beauty and diversity of Chiltern wildflowers. Sounds like a great thing to go to. That's 8 till 9:30 at the Russell School, Brushwood Drive, Chorleywood, and that's on the 21st of January. I'll post the details up anyway. The other thing to mention very, very briefly is Watford's going to have its first pancake race. I did mention at the beginning of the show, and just in case anyone is thinking, hold on, what about the pancake race? This is it. It's going to be on Shrove Tuesday. It's going to be around the pond in Watford. So get your frying pans at the ready, and I'll give you some more details about it next week.
Okay, that sounds absolutely fantastic. Very briefly, we have a full week of events coming up for Link for Growth this week. Tomorrow Chris is going to be in Barracuda as usual between 10 and 11:30 to meet and chat to anyone who wants to know more about Link for Growth or about Watford's Community Kickstarter initiative, which Link for Growth are putting in place. On Sunday, Link for Growth have the breakfast at the Junction Cafe in St Albans Road starting at 10. On Monday, there's a Link for Coffee at Ocean Bells on Watford High Street. Tuesday, Chris contests a lemon drizzle cake once again at the kitchen, because that's where there is a coffee between 10 and 11:30. And finally this week, or I should say next week, on Thursday evening, starting at 6 o'clock, we have a Link for Drinks at the Moon's Underwater, which is the Wetherspoons pub on Watford High Street. Catherine, have you got a review for us today?
Actually, yes, I have, Diane.
Now, surprise!
just for a change, yes, I have been out eating again, yeah, which is something, as you know, I love to do. Yeah, this is a very interesting one, actually. It's just down the road from us. And it's somewhere that has recently changed its name, changed its management, and changed its look. The Steak Inn, as it's now called, used to be the Steak House. It had a bit of a bad press last year. Won't go into the details of that now because they're trying to rebuild their reputation now. The Steak Inn that we went to on Tuesday offered us a complimentary meal for two, and we had two other paying guests with us as well. They're offering lots of deals at the moment. If you look on their Facebook page, I think at the moment there's a competition to win a meal for four. The week before that they had a buy one get one free, so it's worth having a look. If you want to go along, see what it's like, make up your own mind, and have a great meal in a great little restaurant, then do have a look on Facebook. I say it's all about steak. They do exotic steaks. You can take your pick from a whole list of steaks. They tell you what the meat is, what it tastes like, and nutrition content and things like that as well. As I say, they do great deals. We had a fantastic ribeye steak with chips and salad. It was a great meal, beautifully served, serviced with a smile, and a glass of wine to say cheers. They've got lots of veggie options as well, actually. My daughter had a lovely halloumi dish as well. So there's something for everyone there. As I say, it's down St Albans Road. It's what used to be the steakhouse. If you cast your mind back further than that, it used to be Carnivale. So it's been a restaurant in that little area for a long time. Go along, see what you think, have a nice meal at the Steak Inn, and give them a review afterwards. If you love it, tell your friends about it, like I'm doing.
Okay, that's great. And that's it for this week's show. It's slightly longer than usual, but hopefully you found it really interesting. Especially all the stuff about that Kevin Affleck could provide, all the insight on Watford and the discussion with Neal. I thought that was really interesting, actually, and getting kind of some information that you don't normally just see and hear about in the newspapers or in local websites and stuff like that. Thank you very much for watching, and we will be back next week with another Link for Growth Southwest Herts TV show. And of course, in the meantime, if you want to get in touch, you can via our Twitter account, which is at L4G SW Herts. Okay, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.